Welcome to Superhuman Customs. I'm your host, Stephen Human. This is the channel where we just customize action figures and have a lot of fun. And sometimes we do really crazy stuff and it doesn't work out, and sometimes we do simple stuff and it does, and everything in between. And we're just meant to have a lot of fun, not take ourselves too terribly seriously. And I had an idea this last week to do a Manchester Black figure. Now this is a Superman villain. There's never been an action figure made of him. And I had the idea, and then someone on the channel was like, hey, you should make something that no one's ever made before. So I was like, all right. Well, there was a Captain Boomerang that was on sale for like 17 bucks, and he had the cloth, you know, the trench coat and everything. And I was like, oh, cool. And when I went to go buy him, he was already sold out. And then I saw this guy, but he was like 30 bucks. And I was like, well, you know, I don't like buying figures at full price. It's just who I am. I like a deal. Well, I went to an outlet store near our house yesterday, and guess who was there? He was $11. So I was like, sweet. You know, I saw him for 30 2 days ago, and now I'm getting him for 11. So we're gonna turn this Dr. Midnight? We're gonna turn this Dr. Midnight into Manchester Black using this head. It was one of the printed head that came with that lot that Dale sent me. And I think he's got kind of a spiky hair a little bit, and that's what Manchester Black's got. That's kind of what gave me the idea. So that is what we're gonna do today. It's gonna be kind of simple, a little bit of milliput for the shirt, and other than that, just a paint job. So let's dive right in. So first thing I did is I put new hands on. I wanted to have this pointy hand because there's actually a part where he shoots himself in the head in a comic and he makes those fingers. So I wanted that. And then here's how it'll look with the head. I think that's gonna look great. It'll be a really fun Manchester Black. Now Manchester Black has been shown a couple different ways. Sometimes he's shown with a t-shirt with the Union Jack, the British flag on it, and sometimes his chest is tattooed. Well, this is all attached. Now I could detach all of this and pull this off and put on a different chest, and you know, I could do that. I'm not going to. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some milliput, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna thin it out, and we're going to place it over the top, and I'm just going to form a t-shirt and then tuck it in under the coat. So I'm going to thin it out and make it so that he has a t-shirt on. That's the shirt that the look that I prefer, is the t-shirt look. I don't care for the tattooed chest look. It's a little bit much. You're trying a little bit too hard. So we're going to do that. He'll have a t-shirt going down here, and we will be in very good shape. So I've got it all in place, and then one thing that's good to do is I take a little bit of water and I rub it over the top, just a little bit. And that helps to smooth out the milliput. Like I did it on the Bane that I did recently. I do it on all of them so that it gets smoothed out. And then I'm gonna take one of my brushes here, and I'm just gonna put in some grooves for like what a shirt would have. You know, just the sort of how a shirt kind of drapes. And then I can take the water and I can smooth these out a little bit, and they'll look a little bit more natural like a shirt. And then the other bumps and stuff, it's fine. Like this does not need to be perfect by any means because it is just a t-shirt. So it's gonna drape and it'll look like a shirt. That's what I want. So this is right up my alley. You guys know that I prefer when things are imperfect, because when they need to be perfect, I'm not your guy. I don't do as good of a job. I try. I put out a good solid effort, but I'm always more successful when I got something that is more natural. And so this shirt will be right up my alley. I'm starting with his eyes, and I got this really thin brush that I just picked up. Thinnest brush I've ever had, and it should help me to get his eyes. It's still not going to be quite perfect when I get it in there because the paint always gets a little bit, but that's one of the reasons why I am doing it first, so that I can then do the flesh tone and get a little bit of smudges around it and get it so that it looks the way that it should. But this is really nice to have a really thin brush like this that I can go in and do some of this stuff and be a little bit more confident with, or before even with a toothpick, it can still be just a little bit too big. So having something as thin as this is really, really nice, even though it's still not quite perfect. That looks pretty good. All right, nice.
Now with this same thin brush, I'm gonna just get right around the eyes. I'm gonna do something a little bit differently this time because since he's British and he's always been shown as having pale skin, I'm not gonna do a red base. I'm just gonna do my standard flesh tone base, and then I'm gonna do a brown wash over the top and then a dry brush of the same flesh tone. I think that will get me into a pretty good flesh tone color that's not too dramatic for his pale skin. So that's gonna be the deal. Get right around the eyes. I really like this paintbrush. I'm glad that I got it because it really does change how I do these detail work, because I can get nice and thin, just really beautiful strokes in these difficult to reach places.
So I did the wash and it turned out darker than I wanted. So we're gonna go over with the dry brush and hopefully that'll tone it all down a little bit. Once I put a dry brush of white on, I think his face will look even better, but I've been able to get some really nice lines in here to make him look older, because this does have like a younger looking face, and he's shown generally to be a little bit older. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put on some eyebrows, and I'm going with his hair color is gonna be a metallic purple because he's a punk rocker, and I think that that will look really good. So I'm gonna do this first with the thin brush, and then we will do his hair in purple. And I'm gonna try and do, I won't be able to do it on camera because I'm gonna really have to be nice and close, but I'm gonna try and have one eyebrow be kind of pointed down like angry, and the other one pointed up like he's raising an eyebrow. I think that's, will give him the cocky look that he's known for. After a couple of coats and washes and things, his face is looking pretty dang good. It'll look really good once I get like a clear coat on top of it. And now we're gonna do the Union Jack on his shirt. At this point, things will go pretty fast. We'll get the Union Jack on, then we'll paint the jacket and the pants black, and then we'll be basically finished. So I'm liking how this guy's turning out. I've always enjoyed the character of Manchester Black from his first appearance in Action Comics number 775, which is one of my favorite issues of all time. If you haven't read it, it's a very, very good issue. And obviously he made an impression because he's been around ever since. One thing while I'm doing this that I wanted to talk about that's very important for me in this hobby is to be excited about the figure that you're doing. Because if you're not, then it's just not going to turn out as good. And you can see this a bunch of times on my channel, where I've started a figure that I didn't quite care about, or, you know, I got sick of it. I don't know. But if I'm not excited about a character, then I'm not going to do as good a job on the figure. And so it's important to have figures that you care about. Like I really like Manchester Black, so I want to do a good job. But like I'm working on, got this Blue Beetle here, and I'm thinking about turning him into a Darkhawk from Marvel. I even filmed the intro to it for the video, but I'm just not, haven't touched it since, because I'm not particularly excited about it. And I'm working on Adam Eve right here, and I haven't gotten past priming her. So I know I'll do, the Adam Eve will get done for sure, but I'm not sure about the other one. So just work on figures that you're excited about, that you want to see done, and you'll have a much better time. You'll have a much more enjoyable experience. That's been my experience doing this, and so I just wanted to kind of share that little nugget that's been important to me while I've been customizing over the last 4 or 5 years. Before I call it a night, I want to just get the blue on here as well, so that the last thing we have to do is any kind of detail work that, you know, the next day you kind of look at and go, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. And the coat and the pants, which will be all done in one go in black. And then I think what I'm going to do is go through with my glaze, with my gloss, and go over the coat, 'cause the coat's supposed to be leather. So we'll see once it's all black, like kind of what I want to do, but I think I want it to be shiny. That'll be really cool. So yeah, but I'm liking how this guy's turning out. Like I said, I like Manchester Black. He's a fun character, a little bit more complicated than a lot of other anti-heroes.
And I like that. All right, I've decided that tonight I am just gonna start on the black because I'm very excited about getting this guy done. So I don't know if I'll finish the black tonight, but I am going to get it moving.
I started painting the pants black, but what I decided to do is I want them to have a slightly different color than the jacket. So I've got a really dark gray acrylic here that I put a little bit of water in to water it down. These craft paints, most of the time I use Vallejo paints. For those of you wondering, they are amazing. But I've got some really nice acrylic craft paints, but they're thicker and they get blotchy easier. And so what I like to do is put a little bit of water in with them just to tone them down a little bit, and they go on a little bit easier and they don't get blotchy or crack or anything. So that's what I'm gonna do. And he'll have slightly different colored pants than the coat because they are made of different materials. This is obviously just regular fabric. The jacket is going to be a leather, and so we don't want them to look the same. A couple things I'm experimenting with is I've got this Green Lantern hand, and I'm thinking of cutting it and turning it into a cigarette right here. I was actually thinking about drilling a hole in his mouth and having it there, but I think that would look kind of weird because his face doesn't, like, his lips don't contort to this. Anyway, I think I'm gonna do that. And then I'm gonna take some of this gloss and we're gonna put it over the jacket. And I think at that point, he's gonna look just exactly the way that we want to. The cigarette is looking solid. And now, last but not least, we're gonna put some gloss on here to make this look like leather. And then I think Manchester Black is going to be finished. And there we have Manchester Black. This was a really fun one because I kind of had the idea in advance and I was able to get the right body for super cheap, and it was a surprise. And I really like how he turned out. I love that he's a little bit schlumpy, like, because I kind of put just a little bit of a gut on him, because in the original comic book, which is what this guy's based off of, he was very schlumpy. Like, he had kind of a little bit of a double chin. He wasn't like the ripped version of what you'd think of as superhero and stuff. He was a very normal guy, and that's how I wanted him to look. So this was awesome. And just remember, like with the cigarette, I think for me that really sells the character, and it was kind of a happy accident. I wasn't planning on having the double fingers be anything like that, but it definitely looks like I planned that from the beginning. And just always remember to drill, when it comes to gluing stuff, you either want to have a large space that's clean to glue the two things together, or you want to drill or create multiple contact points. Because now this thing, I can yank on it, it'll pull his hand off before it pulls that out, because I drilled just a little bit of a hole and now it's got multiple contact points. So just remember to do that. This is super fun. I hope you guys are all enjoying yourselves and that you are creating characters that are a lot of fun. And that's why I do it, is just to enjoy myself, and he's gonna look great on the shelf. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.